Hello and welcome. Another episode of our weekly segment here with Bhagirath Jata. Episode 11 now. Uh, Me and the boy Dam Rakimul here again. Missing our other two guys, but yeah, Rakimul. Not a lot happening in world cricket, I guess, in the past week since we recorded our last episode. There's a New Zealand Australia series starting tonight for us. Some other games going on, but League Two is going on with Nepal, Netherlands, and Namibia, and yeah, big news in the past week is India won by 434 runs. What happened at Rajkot?
Most importantly, Sarfaraz Khan finally got to make his
Oh,
debut.
no, I was gonna come to that. I was gonna come to that. The big man
That was
finally.
the main
That's
focal point before the
yeah.
test match,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
of
The
course,
first thing we should discuss is because you already got to that topic is that day one seemed like everything was revolving around Sarfaraz Khan's debut. Well, Dhruv Jurel was also making a debut, but almost everyone forgot about that. Is that a correct conclusion?
yes, and it's a bit unfair on Jurel, of course, making
Yeah.
his debut as a test keeper for India. That's a big deal, of course,
Yeah.
and it probably wouldn't have happened had it not been for the unfortunate accident of Rishabh Pant. India
Yeah.
have tried quite a few keepers in between,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. With Sarfaraz, everyone's been waiting for this for years now. Talk
Yeah.
has been around since I remember as far as back as 2019 that people
Yeah.
realized that no, he's consistent at the domestic level. He's performing every season. And I think one of the best things that Sunil Gavaskar said on this topic was, if you want supermodels, get the slimmest guys. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about fitness of a cricketer, he's fit. He's getting runs. If he
He's getting
had he not
runs.
been fit, he wouldn't be getting runs, and he
Yeah.
showed us that.
Yeah. No, this is something we talked about in our podcast a couple of times that Sarfraz get big runs, right? Sarfraz gets big runs, and you don't get big runs. You don't bat for 3, 4 hours, 5 hours in the heat of India, whatever it is. If you're not fit, right? You can't do that if you're not fit, and he clearly showed. Um, why do you think? I guess now that he's made his debut, we can finally talk about this. Is what prompted them to come to him after so long? They went for Patidar before him. They went for Surya Kumar Yadav before him. They tried Shreyas Iyer up and down a couple times before him. There's an unfortunate injury to KL Rahul, obviously. Virat Kohli is not available. A couple of things had to fall in place for Sarfraz to finally make his debut.
Social media pressure was a big factor to begin with.
Yeah,
After that, I think I don't think they would mind trying Dhruv Jurel even as a specialist batter if it really
yeah,
came down to it. Had KS Bharat managed to perform well I
yeah,
think he played both the first two matches.
yeah.
Had he managed to perform well, they would have tried to back him and Dhruv Jurel as a specialist batter because that makes an interesting case for
Yeah,
Dhruv Jurel. We know that
yeah,
he is a very capable batter in the middle order.
yeah,
KL Rahul gets injured. Shreyas Iyer gets injured. Virat Kohli is unavailable due to personal reasons. We would also like to congratulate him on the birth of his son.
oh
Anyways,
yes,
so
yeah. Yeah,
so these three pillars of the Indian Test middle order sort of all of a sudden gone. They decide to drop Pujara and Rahane, and I think they're sort of done with them, unfortunately.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that leaves a big gaping hole. Who do you replace them with? All of a sudden, you
yeah,
have to go to your top domestic performers. You even with the depth that India have in their pipeline with ranjitrophy and everything, they sort of ran out of options at one point. And then, of
yeah,
course, add
yeah,
on top of that the social media pressure that we mentioned initially.
yeah,
Both those things came together, and there was Sarfaraz Khan's emotional cap
yeah,
presenting ceremony, followed by
yeah.
a very memorable debut.
Yeah, well, what do you make of that? I guess ceremony. His dad was there, and his wife was there. So to have his family around for such a special moment. Obviously, his brother just finished up at the Under 19 World Cup. So yeah, what do you make of that presentation? And I guess the emotions around it.
Oh, absolutely spectacular. Even as someone like you could show this to someone who has nothing to do with sports, someone who
Yeah,
doesn't play, doesn't watch, nothing. Even
yeah,
they would understand the emotional impact of that moment. And his father, as we know, his father has been very actively involved in his
yeah.
cricket, sometimes a little too involved.
Too
He was the
involved.
one who
Yeah,
made that whole move between Punjab and
between
Mumbai.
Mumbai and Uttarakhand.
Mumbai and Uttarakhand, sorry.
Yeah,
Mumbai and
yeah,
Uttarakhand, which in hindsight seemed a little unnecessary, but in the
yeah.
long run it all worked out, right?
Right.
That's how parents are, especially from where we are from. We know that that's
Yeah,
how parents are. They will sacrifice everything for their children's success. So it was wonderful to see his father being presented that cap right away, and
yeah,
then to his wife, of course. And
yeah.
it was overall a remarkable moment. And I know a lot of people were angry. Even I was a little upset when he didn't come out at number 5. Jadeja came out
Mm,
ahead of him,
yeah,
but that
yeah.
turned out to be a very crucial moment because that Jadeja Rohit partnership was brilliant. And that set the
Brilliant. Yeah,
stage for Sarfaraz. You
yeah,
need someone experienced to handle that situation. And Jadeja is, as we know, very experienced. It is still very unfortunate that Jadeja is the one who ended up running him out.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there was 100 there for the taking, 100% in that first innings, right? And probably would have been fairy tale. You hear, you go back to a year ago when they were playing against Australia, and people were pissed off that there's a guy who averages 80 something in first class cricket that's not even getting picked in the 15 because some people are saying, if you're averaging 85 in Sheffield Shield, you're at least making the 15, right? Like it's a no-brainer in that, in those cases. Any domestic competition, if you're averaging 15 over 80 plus over a big sample size, you usually get called up. So I think, yeah, I mean, this is a series that still has a lot, um, at stake, and this is a good series for Sarfaraz to make his debut. No one can complain about, oh, he scored runs against lesser opponents and this that. You can see just from his intent. But yeah, I mean, let's get into it because you talked about Jadeja in that first innings. Rohit Sharma and Jadeja, that first innings partnership. What would you say that was the turning point in this game, or that set up for what Yashasvi Jaiswal would go on to do in that second innings?
I wouldn't call it a turning point. I'm coming to the turning point a bit later, but I
Yeah,
would say that partnership was very crucial. India were in all sorts of trouble, and you know that the middle order isn't experienced. When Jadeja comes out, it's a good thing that Jadeja is experienced. You have Captain Rohit Sharma on the other end, but you
yeah,
also know that just after them comes two debutants, not just one, two debutants, followed by
yeah,
a long tail, and it's
yeah.
never easy. We know Ashwin can
And
bat
Jadeja's got
almost
a couple of triple hundreds in first class cricket, so that
in first
always
class cricket.
helps.
He's got a couple of hundreds in Test cricket even like before
Yeah,
that. So
yeah,
you know
yeah,
Jadeja can bat. Rohit Sharma is Rohit Sharma, but you also know that there isn't a lot of experience in the middle order, and then comes the tail. Of course, you
yeah,
don't want to leave too much for them.
yeah,
Overall, the pitch was pretty good for batting in that phase, so it's kind of confusing how India found themselves in that state all of a sudden. But
yeah, yeah.
it happens.
It happens. No,
It can happen at any
that
time.
early
Eh,
morning, that couple of things happening off the pitch, just while nicking off, little things can happen in that first session or so.
And you know that you wear these English bowlers out, like with all the respect in the world for Jimmy Anderson. You know that he's not someone who can successfully bowl long spells anymore.
Yeah,
He was always someone who preferred bowling with the new ball, always.
yeah,
Even when he was 20, he would prefer to do that. Now he's
yeah,
41, he would obviously still prefer to do it. And
yeah.
thus, it sort of takes away a lot out of him if
Hmm.
you play him out successfully in the early stages, which Jadeja and Rohit did. And then the spinners, again, just very disappointing.
Yeah,
Whether they should have stuck to Bashir or not, I don't know, but it was disappointing to see them bowl the way they did. And I think England are starting to realize. I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago. England it's weird because England kind of need Ben Stokes to bowl again. I don't know if
yeah,
that's
yeah,
ever happening again, but they kind
yeah,
of do need him to bowl again. Ben
yeah,
Stokes with the ball played a very, very important role. Once that ball got old, or once the bowlers got tired and someone else had to come in for the second new ball, he played that role amazingly well.
and he's
They
good
kind
at
of
a
need him.
reverse swing, right? Which is not something
Exceptionally
that you
good.
see, um, English bowlers a lot. Even in Australia, someone like Mitchell Stark, he has that reverse swing, and it's talked about massively because, you know, reverse swing almost went out of the game these days because of the emergence of white ball cricket, and then you have two white balls now in ODI cricket. It's very different than what it was 20 years ago,
It's
or
crazy to think
15 years
reverse
ago.
swing was a regular occurrence in white ball
Yeah,
cricket.
yeah, because that ball used to get so old, it's gotten beaten around. By the time you get to 35, 40 overs, you got some stuff. At least after 40 overs, you got funny things happening here and there, right? And
A good example of that, I'm sorry, it's a bit off topic,
yeah,
but a good
yeah,
example of that is if you watch the 2011 World Cup semifinals, even if you're just watching the highlights,
yeah,
Wahab Riaz
yeah,
reverse swinging that old ball, it's
yeah,
completely different from the Wahab Riaz you'll see after that. So
yeah,
it's not that, with experience he suddenly forgot how to reverse the ball. It's just the white ball changed after that. 20,
yeah. It
2011 September, October was the time when MCC announced the new rule, and that changed
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, exactly. It's become a more batter's game, right? So let's get into that bit about, I guess, Surfraz coming in, right after that partnership. And what did you make of his intent, or kind of that free flowing, confident nature that we saw from someone? He's played Ranji, like we talked about. He's played for India A cricket, heaps of runs in different conditions for India A. Would you say a lot of that translated to that confident knock, or is it a culmination of that plus, making debut at home? Can't get better than that.
No, I think the confidence factor was 100% there because you have to understand, look, it was a little different. I'm going to bring up another example of someone who debuted against England and then had a very successful first series, not necessarily first match, but first series. It was
Yeah,
Karun Nair not
yeah,
too long ago. Everyone
yeah,
remembers that, right?
yeah,
That was also at home. And the English bowling, it was good to begin with. And then the bowlers got a little tired. You could see that. You could see the similar
yeah,
patterns there,
yeah,
right? But with Karun Nair, one thing that wasn't there is there wasn't a lot of pressure from the outside because Karun Nair was just filling in for Rahane. No one really cared as much. Like everyone knew that he's a very talented batter. No
yeah.
one really cared in
But
a sense
no,
that
the output
had
didn't
he
matter
failed,
as
there wouldn't
yeah,
be a lot of talk about it.
yeah,
Had Sarfaraz failed, even in one innings, even in that first innings, again, automatically all the talk over both mainstream media and social media would be about
would
this is the guy
yeah,
you've been hyping up.
yeah,
This is the
yeah,
guy that
yeah,
everyone's been hyping
yeah,
up. Look at
yeah,
him.
yeah.
Domestic cricket is nothing. This is international cricket, and he's not ready for it.
Definitely.
All this chatter would get
These
started.
guys would
So
be
there was
on that
obviously a
case
lot of
so
pressure.
quickly. They would have been on his case. They would have been on
100%.
BCCI's case. Yeah, and then there would be memes about his weight. There would be memes about the fact he doesn't have IPL contract. There would be memes about Virat Kohli telling him that he needs to get fit. All those things.
All the talk, and it's very funny because then a lot of the conversation would also shift. Sorry, just lost my train of thought for a second.
No, no, no.
A
You're
lot of
good.
the conversation, all the narrative would also shift towards him having his fans not even watching him play properly. They're backing him for external political reasons and all those
Yeah,
talk.
yeah,
We know that that's BS, but again,
yeah.
it's hard to prove that that's BS when he fails to perform. So
Right.
again, none of it was about the pitch. He could be batting at the flattest Rawalpindi highway tracks for all we care. It was
Yeah,
all about his mental fortitude, and he proved that he's got that whole thing sorted out right now.
yeah. No, that's spot on. I would say, um, you know, seeing someone bat like that with that much confidence, given, you mentioned a few things that were at stake for him, and it showed that, he's developed so much since we first saw him, 2014 under 19 World Cup live,
16.
2015, 2014, and 2016, I think. Yeah, both.
Oh, I don't even
Yeah.
remember him playing the 2014. Sorry, I remember
Yeah,
him playing the 2016, but
yeah,
not
yeah.
the 2014 because
No,
16 he
and
was the
then
highest run scorer.
2016 he was too good for everyone else.
Too good for under 19. Yeah.
Basically, he was too good for under 19 cricket at that point, and that kind of, I mean, not to get too far on a tangent, but he changed the landscape of how India plays their junior cricket now, because him, he technically qualified for one more World Cup, I think, at that age, and India were like, all right, this is where we put a stop to people playing only one World Cup. And guys started developing a lot faster just because they knew they couldn't bask in glory of playing two World Cups. They didn't have the safety net of that. So it makes a lot of difference. Jurel, India's been struggling since Reef Pant's unfortunate injury with having that keeper batter role fit. Sometimes they have to play two guys to fit that role. Sometimes KL Rahul does a good job in, a little more easier conditions, you could say, to keep at, something like South Africa where there's no variable bounce a lot of times. From spinners, you have something like India where you get these variable bounce, you get so much turn off the wicket. They had to try KS Bharat, who's been part of the system. But I mean, Dhruv Jurel, what you could say last 12 months has been kind of a whirlwind for him. He's gone from obscurity to test match wicketkeeper batter, kind of.
A lot of credit to that Rajasthan Royals setup.
Yeah, I mean, massive. I mean, bringing him on as a impact player, and that one innings basically changed the course of his career. He went on to play, what, 13 games in the IPL last year. Uh, Massive returns just in that role, but basically became a part of the starting 11 at a point.
Expecting
Um,
him to start regularly all throughout this season at least,
yeah, yeah. No, so
even though they have two other keepers.
well, what do you make of his innings in the first inning? I mean, he came to bat, what, eight, I think, because Kuldeep came in as a
Kuldeep came in, and yeah,
night
the score was
watchman.
331 actually. So
Yeah,
again, easy conditions to bat in, but
yeah,
he made good use of it. He didn't
yeah,
get a half century, so he'd be disappointed. But
yeah,
with one innings, there isn't too much to judge. His keeping was good, his batting was good, and it's for him. It was less about having this breakthrough debut, having this remarkably memorable innings, or
yeah,
two memorable innings, I should say,
yeah,
like
yeah,
Sarfaraz. It was
yeah,
more about him just doing well enough so that he can have a proper go again in the next test and hopefully again in the last test as well, which is
yeah,
probably in Dharamsala.
yeah,
So he needs to do that. He needs to prove himself with the gloves and then, of course, with the bat again. It's not going to be easy, but he's gotten the start. He's done the difficult part. The first hurdle is always the most difficult
yeah,
one,
yeah,
getting that successful debut. You don't have to get 100. You don't have to get a half century. You just have to
yeah,
look like you belong. And Dhruv
yeah.
Jurel looked like he belonged
He
the
belong.
entire time.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
one more thing, I'm just going to add that it's really disappointed how KS Bharat hasn't been able to capitalize on the opportunity. He's had what, six tests at home already, I
yeah,
think, already
yeah,
with the
yeah.
Australia series and the English
Australia
series,
series
and
and this. Yeah,
because KL Rahul, again, we know KL Rahul is a very good keeper. It's just that he's very injury prone. You cannot have him keeping in India when you could
yeah,
possibly be keeping for
yeah.
120 overs. You
And
just
you
can't.
saw, like, he had that first test, did well, but injury gone again, right?
Injury.
Like, it's just his body just does not support doing it so much frequently over a long period of time. Um, Kishan and what's his name, Bharat, now down the pecking order, you would say, if
Bharat is still there. Kishan, like I said, I already expressed this in one of our earlier videos. I'm very disappointed with the way things transpired with him. And I
yeah,
mean, you're getting to play as a specialist keeper for India. It's kind of a big deal, to be honest.
yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah. A
under
lot, a
19
lot of
teammate
people
has that
would,
freak accident, otherwise
yeah,
you don't make it. I'm sorry, you
yeah,
don't. You just don't
yeah,
make the cut. And all of
yeah.
a sudden you do. You have a very good debut series. You're averaging 70 plus. How do you explain to someone that this guy, like maybe 10, 20 years down the line, people are going to turn this into, oh, he didn't get too many chances at Test cricket. Look how good his average is. That's what people are going to turn this into.
You're gonna have to scuff up the articles and be like, look at what this guy was doing actually, right? Yeah,
They'll say
it's
these are
unfortunate.
conspiracy theories. None of these things happened.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's unfortunate because even from Rahul Dravid's interview, you could kind of tell that the management's not too happy about how it's transpired because Dravid was like, "Well, I can't do much."
And
When he
this
wants
brings
to
up the
come back,
very
he wants
difficult
to come.
question.
Yeah,
A very difficult question that is the IPL just giving a little too much to these players sometimes? I'm not saying they don't deserve the money. It's just that
yeah,
I know I don't know how I would react if I was getting 14 crore every season, right?
Right.
You don't know how
Yeah.
you would
No,
react.
it's
Like
exactly. No.
right now, if we had the cricketing skills to be playing at that level, we would want to play for our country. We wouldn't even think about the IPL. We would think
Yeah.
that the country is going to provide us with enough money as is. We're
Yeah.
going to get the national contract is good enough, be it for Bangladesh, be it for India, be it for Australia, whatever. It's good
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
We can more than survive on that money. But then the franchise money is going to come in eventually, and it's going
Yeah.
to
And
start making
yeah,
anyone feel
it
otherwise, right?
makes
At one
you
point.
start thinking priorities and everything. We'll discuss this topic. We'll shelve this right after because there's a funny kind of precedent that's been set by this, and Jay Shah's had to make a statement, and it's not frequent that Jay Shah has to make statements about this, and so stick to India, or you wanna go into England's first innings batting, or I mean, you wanna talk about Jaiswal now or Jaiswal after?
Let's go to England for a bit
Let's go.
because
Yeah,
they,
yeah,
they
yeah.
might be feeling like they're missing out. We're not
No.
mentioning them anywhere.
I mean, England. Um, what a start on the first day, second day, right? 202 for two when they went to stumps. Duckett batting like a dream. Um, Crawley got a start, didn't really convert. Pope was there for a bit, got a start, didn't convert. And then all hell breaks loose after Joe Root tries to reverse ramp and gets taken by Yashasvi Jaiswal. And after that, is that would you say that just broke in England's back because they were like,
You know how I mentioned a little while earlier that the fourth wicket partnership between Rohit and Jadeja was not my turning point because
yeah,
that route dismissal was my turning point. I just saw
yeah.
it. I remember seeing it on screen. It was late at night. I'm like, am I hallucinating here? What am I seeing?
Yeah,
Did he
no,
really dismiss
it
that?
was out of the ordinary because
It was really early in the day as well. What
yeah,
was he thinking? I
like
still have no idea. We spoke about this already. Joe Root does not need to change his batting entirely to fit into this Bazball test team. He doesn't.
yeah.
What is he doing?
No, I mean, like, honestly, let's be honest here. Um, England were in the driving seat. Day three, first session. Yes, you're looking to get to 465 or whatever England India said in that first innings, but you're 200 something for two on a pretty flat wicket, and your best batter comes out and tries to reverse ramp and gets caught at slip. Now, a lot of people might say, yeah, on any other day he gets more meat on it and it goes for four and the whole. Well, yes, you can have that, but reality is, in that situation, it didn't need to happen. And what McCullum said this after they lost to South Africa in that series back at home in 2022. I think when Bazball first started, right? South Africa had a Dean Elgar was all up and about, oh yeah, this is how we're gonna play. We don't care about Ben Stokes and his tactics, this that. Well, McCullum said, I don't want my guys to play stupid. I want them to play aggressive, but according to the situation. Where do you think England's kind of breaking that line where they're kind of getting lost? Because the last two test matches, that second test, they were in the driving seat for a while and they gave it up. This test match, they were in the driving seat for a little bit and they just completely gave it up.
Disciplined bowling from India, and Rohit Sharma isn't exactly phased too easily by this baseball strategy. Maybe he was in the first couple of
First,
tests, there were
yeah,
some signs, but right
yeah.
now he looks like he's on top of things. And another
Oh,
problem is you cannot hit your way into form sometimes. So,
yeah,
what I mean by that and why I mentioned that is the top three batters, they're doing well. They have form on their side. They're not going to be consistent. Of course, the whole point, the whole premise, the whole reason for Bazball was that these guys weren't performing consistently. That is why they introduced Bazball, and it kind of makes up for their lack of consistency. I
Yeah,
get that. So Duckett's had a good innings, Crawley's had a good innings, Pope has had a good innings, all under difficult circumstances against a very good bowling attack. All fantastic. What happens when Joe Root and Johnny Bairstow start misfiring at the same time? Ben Fowkes has never given you too much with the bat, and Ben Stokes isn't giving you all that much either. He's giving you
yeah,
here bits and pieces here and there,
yeah.
but
He'll
that's
give
not
you a
enough. It's not
70, he'll give
substantial.
you a 50, this, that. Folks will give
He
you a
can't
70,
make up for
50.
five
Yeah.
guys right now. That's what he
No.
has to do, and
Yeah,
he can't
yeah.
do that anymore.
He's
The
not.
the peak of Ben Stokes, he could have done that and
Yeah,
more. He could make
yeah.
up for like 10 other guys,
But
literally.
he's not gonna be scoring a double hundred. Like it's not happening.
Not happening, and
Yeah,
not anytime soon, at least.
yeah. Um, India's bowling in that first innings. I mean, they were thereabout. They were disciplined. They got hit out. Obviously, England were scoring at 6.5 runs and over, or six, just over six and over. And then they just got that little bit of opening and exceptionally made use of it. Uh, Ashwin 500 wickets, left for for a bit because of family emergency, still came back. But yeah, I mean, Siraj 4 4. How good was that?
That was really good and partnered very well by Jadeja and Kuldeep. It was
Yeah,
really good to see this, mixed breed of an attack with pace on one end, spin on the other. We don't really see that utilized as
yeah,
well these days,
yeah,
especially by the subcontinent teams. That's what's disappointing, right? This is a strategy that was best utilized by the subcontinent teams when they were at their best. We're talking Murali and Vas. We're talking
yes,
Mushtaq and Wasim Akram, or
yeah,
Mushtaq and Wakar. These are
yeah.
the things that they did really well, which right now they're struggling with. So, anyways, when Ashwin had to leave, I was kind of worried if Rohit Sharma was going to try and bring in Washington Sundar, because he could, if Ben Stokes gave him permission. There was
From
this whole other clause, and I
yeah,
understand that under most circumstances, the opposition captain wouldn't be inclined to do that, and they
yeah,
wouldn't. And
yeah.
then the Indian media would try and turn them into a villain.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
In a weird way, I was happy to know they actually found a way to work around this whole problem. They found a way to make Kuldeep Yadav and Ravindra Jadeja bowl in tandem with Siraj and Bumrah, and it turned
yeah.
out to be an overall fantastic strategy for
This
them.
is
They
where
didn't
they
really
were
miss
missing
Ravichandran Ashwin.
Virat Kohli's right arm fast, right arm quick bullet.
Rohit Sharma could have rolled his arm around and bowled a few.
I mean, got a hat trick, so yeah. Um, England's bowling in that first innings, I guess, just lightly touch upon the bowling in that first innings was no consistency. Spinners all over the place. Hartley bowled well. I'll give him that. Hartley definitely bowled well. But Rehan, and do you think it's too much to ask from Root to be bowling all these overs and batting at 4, given that he's not used to a kind of workload like this? He will come in and take a 5 for randomly on a test. But you think they're asking too much of him right now?
See, workload is one thing. Like he's not batting all that well, so the workload
Yeah,
effect isn't falling on him as much. But it's also about the pressure of expectations. Like you cannot expect Root to be winning you games with the ball. That's
yeah,
why I mentioned that they're really desperately missing Ben Stokes, the bowler, right now. Because
yeah,
that's the big difference. Root, the bowler, isn't, even if workload management isn't a problem. If you
yeah,
take that issue out of play, he's
yeah.
still not going to be, as you said, he's going to have the odd good spell here and there, but he's not going to win you matches with the ball. That's not realistic. Let's be honest.
Is
Even
it
the
time
fifer
to
that he
call?
picked, it very much came in a losing
Yeah,
cause. You remember that
yeah,
one in Ahmedabad,
yeah.
because India were just throwing their wickets away at that point.
Wickets.
They had a good enough lead.
Yeah,
So in those situations, it just doesn't tend to matter anymore. And that's the whole thing with Root. You can't really rely as much on his bowling as much as England are unfortunately relying on him. And these conditions, they're not super spin friendly either.
not
India
at
have
all.
learned their
Yeah.
lesson after the first test.
Yeah, no, I mean, I said it right after the first test. We talked about it on the show right now that they've seen it. They've gone, nope, we're going back to flat tracks. We're going to bat. score big, knock you out.
And in all
That's kind
fairness,
of
Rajkot has always been a pretty flat track in itself. They would
yeah,
have gone out
yeah.
of their way to doctor the pitch, which they didn't, and that's a good thing, I suppose, because we complain
Exactly.
about
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah. You don't at least roll up and see dry patches on the interesting areas. Ashwin was getting funny there with his running down the wicket. And good to see the umpires are actually being serious about it. They're not letting things fly, as you see sometimes in
There
India.
were
Things
multiple
just,
warnings to multiple
yeah,
players from the Indian
things
side,
just
I
fly
believe.
under the radar sometimes in India. So it's good to see people are on top of things. A lot of eyes on the series. So you already know that things are not gonna just go under the radar as easily. Time to replace Johnny Bairstow.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna come to. In particularly the last innings as well. I thought he would do at least just enough, get a half century or something,
Yeah,
salvage whatever you can get, save your career, do something, man.
yeah,
Like I'm a fan of Johnny Bairstow. I've enjoyed his cricket a lot over the last 9 years or so. But right now, it's really disappointing. He doesn't
yeah.
seem to be offering anything, and he seems to be sort of here in with a reference of his past performances. You know how job references go here
Just
in Canada.
just got credit in
It's
the
sort of like
bank,
that.
man. He's got credit in the bank. Yeah,
And that's what he seems to be like. They literally turned him into a test specialist keeper after years just to get him in last summer. And over
yeah,
here, that didn't work. Over here, they're filling him in for Harry Brook, which I understand because that's a more like for like. But again, it's just not working. I really hope that they have a backup plan for the next two tests, and it's not just try out Johnny Bairstow and give him enough time so that he can get back to form. He gets
yeah,
one half century, he
yeah,
saves his career, and then he has a similar summer again. That's
yeah.
horrible. In the
That's
long run,
not
that gives you
no
nothing.
good. Yeah, no, no, 100%. Come to the beginnings now. Yashasvi Jaiswal.
Worst batter since Bradman to get two double centuries in one series.
Man, like how is it possible?
I thought
I
I was misremembering. I thought Michael Clark got two double centuries in that India series back
India
in
series,
2011
yeah,
and
yeah,
2012, but
yeah.
no, it was just one triple century.
When he was batting without no sponsor stickers on his bat, and everyone
2012,
kept.
Michael Clark was something else. We can talk about that all day. No, but seriously, like that was really an epic knock from Jaiswal. He looked in control the entire time. He was cruising. His strike rate was fantastic all throughout.
Mhm.
And I know strike rate doesn't matter in Test cricket, of course, but when you're going up against this sort of Bazball strategy and you're giving it an eye for an eye, you're saying that okay, you want to play aggressive, we can be aggressive too. These are our grounds, and here we've grown up playing a lot of aggressive cricket. So bring
Yeah.
it on. That's the
No,
message
I
that
mean,
is going to
I
Brendan
mean,
McCullum and Ben Stokes.
look at the kind of, I guess you could say, positivity that he plays with,
Bravado of sorts.
bravado of sorts. Yeah, because he's going at people from ball one. He's not worried about who's got 600 something wickets. He's not worried about who's turning the ball. He's not worried about Mark Wood's pace. Nothing phases this guy, right? We already saw a remarkable transition or transformation of Yasasvi Jaiswal from 2022 IPL to 2023 IPL, where in that 1 year he basically just became a very powerful player, very explosive player. Rohit Sharma even asked him after one game, where is all this power coming from? Obviously, he's gone on and scored runs for Mumbai. He scored runs for India A. India are very conservative in promoting guys too early, young guys, especially in the recent generations. Before Prithvi Shaw made his debut, there was a lot of conversations between Mumbai, Rahul Dravid, India coach. Is he right? Is he ready? Is he not ready? Should we play him? Should we not play him? So they've always treaded carefully, not to expose guys too early. Is Yashasvi Jaiswal a case of someone exposed at the right time, at the right place, and with the right amount of backing, where he has I could be wrong, but I feel like everyone in India backs Yashasvi Jaiswal to be their test match opener. To the fact that Shubman Gill dropped down to number three.
I don't know. That's perfectly said. To give him that chance immediately after the World Test Championship in West Indies, knowing that West Indies right now, with all due respect, GABA Test and all, are
Yeah,
not going to be the toughest opponent. And of course, this was before the GABA Test, but I'm just saying,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
they're not going to be the toughest opponent. They weren't. It was a very smooth transition into Test
yeah,
cricket from a successful first-class career for Jaiswal. Timing,
yeah.
as you said, under 19 World Cup all the way back in 2020. He was uh, maybe he was 18 at the time,
Player of
player of the
tournament.
tournament.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything just aligned perfectly for him. In between, he's had a lot of time with Ranji Trophy, with the IPL. In the IPL, it was again one thing: Rajasthan Royals, amazing camp, and they're really good at backing these young talents.
yeah,
We said that about Jurel. We can see a better example of that with Jaiswal. They've had more
yeah,
time with him,
yeah,
and the way they got the result out of him is Kumar Sangakkara and the other coaches, everyone else who was involved, they always encouraged him to be his positive self, play the ball, not the bowler. I know
yeah,
it's easier said than done, but
yeah,
this man, he's executed that perfectly.
yeah.
And we're seeing the results of that right now. We know that he can, when he failed in South Africa, there was a lot of talk. But again, teams were getting bundled out for 50 in that
Fifth,
series.
India was losing 10
Home
wickets
team,
for
not
10
even India.
runs. Yeah, yeah. And India
And
lost
you're
like
blaming the young guy. Come on, man. It's his first official tour of
it's
South Africa. Come on, take it a
it's
little easy.
oh my
And
god.
I'm
It's
also really glad that he's being properly touted as this all format player. I still believe that we still need all format players, just like we
yeah,
need format specialists, or
yeah.
like we need a white ball slash
No,
red ball
there is
specialists.
space for both. There is 100% space for both. Yeah.
And the whole point with Shubman Gill, I think that's also very important because Aswaran is the one they were backing up ahead of, backing as a backup for
Yeah.
Pujara.
Yeah.
It kind of didn't work out for them,
No.
unfortunately. It didn't
Yeah.
work out for
Yeah.
Aswaran, and they
Yaswaran
knew that
just
they need
became
someone
India
to.
A captain for life, basically.
And exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
That seems to be his thing now. That's his career
Yeah.
trajectory. That's as far as
Yeah.
he's going to go and play the occasional Dhaka League every now and
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. Um,
Anyways, I bring up the Dhaka
yeah.
League for completely irrelevant reasons, but just to add on Shubman Gill, I'm also glad that he had that little 91 because
Yeah.
it backs up his century from the second test and it shows that he belongs at that level at
No,
number three.
100%. Straight up. And that India top three is looking dangerous day by day. Um,
And the number four, he's
Number four
gearing
is
up. He's
still
gonna
not.
be there soon
He's
after this
busy.
series.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's a very strong batting lineup to bowl to for any bowling lineup around the world. India goes to Australia 2025 winter. I think, yeah, because I think
Or end
England's
of this
going,
year.
or it might be end of this year.
To confirm which year is the
Yeah,
Ashes. It's either the Ashes or the
Ashes is
India
this
series this
year.
year.
Ashes is
Oh,
this
then
year,
it's the
right?
Ashes, of course.
Then okay, okay, okay. So it's not both of them at the same
No,
summer,
no, no,
right?
no, no. You can't
No.
have 10 tests consecutively like that.
Yeah. Okay. Jimmy Anderson. We talked about this. That if he plays the first two tests, doesn't go too well, that's it for him in Test cricket. We talked about Bairstow just now. Um, six and over. Jimmy Anderson in that second innings. Would you say this is where they go? All right, thanks, Jimmy. Respects. Ollie Robinson comes in next match to partner up Mark Wood. Is that kind of the trajectory you're looking at for the next two
I
games?
mean, I wouldn't mind like if I were making that decision, sorry, and I am by no means qualified to be making that decision. I think that's the route I would go. I would say,
Yeah,
okay, Jimmy, you've done enough for this tour.
yeah,
Let's give it a break. Why don't we go back home?
home.
In the English summer, early in the English summer, we're gonna give you a couple of tests, maybe one series here or there. I don't know who they're
Yeah,
playing. Maybe have a home series against West Indies.
yeah,
Just have a couple of tests, complete your 700, and we're gonna give you a grand, massive farewell.
yeah, yeah,
That's what you
exactly.
deserve. This
Yeah,
is not what you deserve,
no.
right? It's
A
part of the game
thrashing, this,
to get
that,
hit for boundaries. It's part of the game. But as Shabir Hossain Sagar would say, to get
span.
spanked, by young guys. It's not even about the age. It's more about
The
the
manner you're
best
getting
of
spanked around it.
Jimmy
Yeah,
Anderson right now. Like
yeah,
there isn't too much else that he can offer. Unfortunately, he's still good with the new ball, but I'm not sure if he has much left in him to keep performing throughout Test match, especially in Indian conditions. And it's going to get
yeah,
more and more challenging. It's going to get more and more hotter actually as
yeah.
we go on.
As we go
So it's
on.
going to get
Yeah,
more and more challenging, and I
yeah.
don't think that pressure on him is fair at this point.
One thing we have to talk about is obviously Sarfaraz second innings came out, big bang. Uh, would you have waited to get his 100 in hindsight?
I thought that that's what they would do. He was standing there and hitting sixes for fun. He
Yeah,
treated
yeah,
Rehan
just
Ahmed
like
like a part-time bowler, and Rehan Ahmed himself is bowling like a part-time bowler. He's not doing himself any favors. Anyways, but yeah, I was hoping that they'd try that, but
yeah,
team comes first, right? That's
yeah,
also a
yeah.
very
No,
important message.
100%. Yeah, no, you have to, and you have to show that message to everyone. You can't just pick and choose who you show it for. It's not gonna work well down the road because it's gonna set a dangerous precedence. Obviously,
It's
Rajat
not a weird
Patidar.
case of Rahul Dravid declaring when Sachin
Hmm.
Tendulkar was on
Yeah.
194. It's not
94.
like that. Sarfaraz
Yeah,
was
this
still a
is
long way away from
like
his
still
100.
30 something runs away. It's not like he's at 96, right? Yeah.
Coach Rahul
Uh,
Dravid wasn't cooking in the background there. It wasn't his plan. It was completely Rohit's plan.
it was, yeah. The Rajat Patidar, two tests already in the series. Unfortunately, hasn't gotten going. Still too early to even discussing, changing anything or, I mean, you kind of give him the next two and see how he fares, and you take your call after that, probably.
At least give him the next one.
Yeah,
Yes, but at the same time, we know that this bowling attack isn't at its best. We know that the conditions aren't very challenging, so he needs to be asking himself what he's doing wrong and
yeah,
sort these issues out
yeah,
because the chance that he's getting, we know it's not a lot. We know it's just
yeah,
a couple of tests, but for India, you get to play a couple of tests at home as a specialist batter.
yeah,
You have to make it count. You
yeah,
absolutely have to.
absolutely. No. The only thing I was gonna talk about, I think England's second innings bowling is, I feel like with their spinners, and this is just me coming from being a spinner myself, is I feel like they're not actually trying to get something out of the wicket. They're just going through the motions in some cases. Sometimes you have situations. This is why Ravi Ashwin is so good at what he does. Is he's always playing with grips. He's always playing with, maybe I can do top spin, maybe I can do overspin, maybe I can do slanted seam, maybe scrambled seam might work. A lot of different things. Ravi Ashwin is always playing around. I feel like England's not doing that enough, and they're trying, coming over the wicket, around the wicket, this, that, trying to use angles. But I feel like once you just stick to trying to bowl one type of spin, and they're trying to bowl overspin a lot more, which is the right way to go about it, 100%. But batsman technically only needs to worry about one type of delivery. And when you're only needing to worry about one type of delivery, it's very easy to bat. You look at Shakib, you look at Ashwin, you look at Nathan Lyon, they all have one or two variations that always catch you on the back foot, that always catch you in that uncertainty of if you should go forward, if you should go backward. And I think this inexperience, or I guess the aggressive nature that they didn't see coming from India, would you say played a part in England spinners kind of getting thrown off and not executing as well as they could have?
Absolutely. The first test probably got them a little too confident,
Yeah,
thinking that in all conditions they can trouble Indian batters. They have to
mm,
understand Indian batters have grown up playing spin on
yeah,
challenging tracks. And
yeah,
for that, we could say that considering the expectations we have from them, they sometimes do underperform on difficult tracks. We've seen that in Mirpur as well.
yeah,
But it's a completely different story when you're giving them a flat track and you're not doing enough with the ball. I think one of the important things that you mentioned with the variation, I think simply put, bowlers have, sorry, spinners have started to depend entirely, almost entirely on lateral movement
Yeah.
and not experimenting anything with bounce.
No.
Nothing
Nothing.
at all.
Nothing.
Unless the pitch just happens, that's not even experimenting, unless the pitch just happens to keep low.
Yeah.
That's not even experimenting, right? That's
No.
just luck.
No. Yeah. Exactly. And that's why I talk about, you know, this is the right way to show is, I talk about having the ball on a cross seam, right? This is the seam. If you can try, like, or you can bowl with one finger over the seam and one finger around, and you can try to get extra bounce. It might not work at the surface, but I did not see one delivery where they're trying to bowl with a scramble seam. And this is
What
this
do you
is a
lose? You
exactly
bowl
what
a
do you
loose
lose.
delivery. What do you lose? It's a
Your
test match.
Sarfaraz is sweeping you regardless. Might as well make him sweep something that bounces a little more, right? Like, so that's the only thing. England's second innings batting, not much to talk about. Um, just surrendered, you'd say. Uh,
And that's the worst part. Like, I think maybe it was a mindset problem. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it could be a mindset problem because
yeah.
all their fourth innings since Bazball started has all been about chasing in the fourth innings, getting those runs, even if
Fox
you face
Cricket
two
came and
strong.
said, "Oh, these guys said they were gonna chase 500. They couldn't even chase."
No, no, no. It's the heroic bravado that we were applauding all these months, and
Yeah,
all of a sudden, when that's gone, when you have to play for a draw, the traditional approach to Test cricket, and not like these guys haven't done that before. They have. Every single one of these players have.
have
None of them are
yeah,
all that new, all that inexperienced.
yeah.
But it just so happened that at that moment, they they don't know how
That
to do it.
curbing the natural instinct that they've been promoting, it just did not come through. Yeah,
The whole idea of baseball is it's not technical, it's not, you can't coach baseball physically. It's a
yeah,
completely mental thing, right?
yeah,
It's not a technique thing, it's not a physical approach thing, it's a complete mental thing.
yeah,
And once that, it's so difficult to flip a switch and suddenly reverse that whole thing.
yeah.
And that
100%. It just
it
it
just
just
became too
doesn't.
much of a challenge, unfortunately. And I'm not saying that's an excuse. You can't use that as an excuse to get all out for 122. You have to give a fight. Like, it's, is it really that hard to survive a day and a half on a pitch that's really not doing all that much?
I
We
mean,
know
you
how
think
capable
about
Ashwin is,
yeah,
Jadeja is, or
yeah,
Kuldeep is, but you're not even challenging them. Just
yeah. No,
surrendering.
it just surrenders, right? And you talk about surviving. AB de Villiers have to Plessis came here and did it, right? Like
Conditions that were 50 times more
50
difficult,
times
actually.
exactly, right? Um, Sometimes Test cricket is about surviving. You might want to chase it down, but realistically, are you gonna chase down 500? It's not gonna happen, right? Like on a very odd scenario, it might happen, but
And
so
if you are going to chase
yeah,
it down, you might as well have played for that at that point,
for
right?
that
Rather than just
exactly, rather than just
surrendering.
surrendering on the back foot, guys getting LBW, just so bad to watch.
Ridiculous.
Um, to finish off, what are you looking for in the next two test matches? Bumrah's obviously resting next match. Gale's still not coming through. Virat's obviously out for the series. Um, 2-2 after fourth test.
I actually applaud India's decision to rest Bumrah. I
Hmm.
kind of wish they had. They don't have Shami for this series though.
No, Shami's injured. So I think
It's a
Mukesh
disappointment
Kumar
because
probably
Shami would have
comes
been an
back.
amazing replacement to come in for Bumrah. You think you're
Yeah.
gonna get some reprieve? No, no
No,
Bumrah
no.
finally, and then Shami
Shami's
comes
coming.
in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, no Shami, Mukesh Kumar, good chance for him to prove himself properly again.
Yeah.
And yeah, not much else to say other than the fact that we hope that, England have some time in between. We hope that they actually think things through and
And
have a
hopefully
clear
not go to
plan.
Abu Dhabi for golf again for a
Oh
week.
my God. Enjoy sightseeing in India for a bit. It's not going to kill you.
Sometimes things go too far. Like sometimes you just like we have been big appreciators for basketball, right? We've appreciated what it's done for Test cricket. We've appreciated where cricket in general has gone in the past 16 months or so because of Bazball, because of what England's done, because of what they have done. India might actually not feel comfortable with 400, and that's why they choose to set 500 plus, all of those things. But sometimes you just gotta know not to go too far with it because, like in like when we were growing up, what did our moms always used to say? "Sab kisi beshi beshi kintu bhalo na," right? So it's just a very interesting case of that. So it'll be interesting to see where we go with the next two test matches. Only one other international series going on. We'll touch base on League Two just a little, not really much yet. But Sri Lanka versus Afghanistan. Um, that third ODI happened right after we recorded our last um, what's it called episode. But Sri Lanka obviously 7 wicket win there. The one I want to really talk about is that first T20I because there seemed like in Afghanistan were going to get through, but I mean, yeah, let's talk about that first innings. What's his name? Patirana. Not that's in second inning. First innings. One Hasaranga. I guess what have you made of him as a captain, and how he's kind of leading this T20I side where he's felt comfortable to kind of promote himself up the batting order.
I mean, you've seen in the 2021 T20 World Cup where he was still far more inexperienced and batting
Yeah,
as high up as number five. So we know that he has that confidence going for him. We know that he's not someone who's going to shy away from these opportunities now that he's captain. He's
yeah,
exuding a lot of, you know, positive body language. He's
yeah,
very confident in everything he's doing. And that's a big thing because when you're coming from this sort of an injury, when you've missed so much cricket, you can easily feel like you're the reason Sri Lanka made it to the Asia Cup finals and didn't win the
yeah,
tournament. Or
yeah.
you're the reason they didn't end up qualifying for the Champions Trophy.
Him,
Like your
yeah,
absence could be that
yeah.
big. And let's be honest, his absence was that big.
Was
His
massive.
absence could
Yeah,
made all these differences that we're mentioning right now.
yeah,
So with all that said, it takes a lot of mental fortitude to come back the way he did.
yeah.
And it looks solid. And I'm glad that they did trust him as captain because Shanaka is not a bad captain. It's just sometimes when the whole conversation is, how are you in the team? It's not easy. It's not easy for any
I mean,
player.
he's now batting 8 and bowling 2 overs. So like, what's going on there? Like, even
What
Angelo
is Field
Matthews in
doing?
his second coming is batting higher than him. What's going on?
I
What's
don't know
the
why.
key?
Why is Shanaka? Why has this always been the case with Shanaka? Why is he always underused? I really don't know. Like
I
I
have no
remember
idea.
him making his debut against India was fantastic, 3 wickets, and
Three
then he
wickets.
comes
Yeah,
to play the T20 Asia Cup where there are games where he's not bowling at all and he's batting all the way down at 7 or 8. Like, what is this? You're not a specialist fielder or something. Dude,
yeah,
you're a good batter. You're a very good white ball
yeah.
batter. You are a decent bowler. You can bowl 1 or 2 overs. That's fine, but you should definitely be batting up the order. At this point, if it's still not happening, then I
And
don't see his career
especially
going anywhere.
no, and especially in matches like this where they were what, um, 50 for 3 or 55 for 5, 55 for
55 for
4.
4. Yep.
They were 55 for 4. So technically, he could have come in and stabilized it because he's been there, done. Like, so I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy that that's happening. Afghanistan, that bowling innings, obviously, Novinul Haq went for a few runs. Omarzai and Nabi just continuing where they left off. And how is Omarzai so good? Like, tell me that first. And I
I mean,
guess his
Umarzai, I
his
think
duck doesn't help, but I mean, he continue
in
like if he
ODIs at
doesn't,
least, we can
yeah,
talk about
yeah,
ODIs for
yeah,
now, and
yeah,
T20Is he still has to make some
some room to
improvements here
grow.
and there,
Yeah, yeah,
room to grow, and that's fine. He's still young. He can grow. All Afghan players are young except Mohammad Nabi. Anyways,
yeah.
No, no, in all seriousness, amazing player, proper ODI all-rounder, and we haven't
Yeah,
seen this breed of ODI all-rounders in a long time, I feel.
yeah,
We've seen a lot of bits and pieces cricketers in ODIs, a
yeah.
lot of bowlers who can bat, a lot of batters who can bowl, that they've been forcefully trying to turn into all-rounders. A lot
Yeah.
of appreciation for
Glenn
Shakib Al
Phillips
Hasan in
and
that
Glenn.
regard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't
Glenn
know.
Phillips is a different case.
He's
Again,
trying.
Glenn
He's
Phillips is
trying.
someone
Yeah,
they're trying. He's trying a lot, and that's
yeah,
great. But
yeah.
again, we haven't seen this consistent
Since
all-rounder
Shakib.
in ODIs
Yeah,
in this generation since Shakib,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah,
And Omar Zai is developing into something of that sort, and that is really, really good to see.
yeah.
Hardik
100%.
Pandya could have been this if he didn't spend, all his time at the NCA recovering.
Or at Dubai preparing for IPL.
I was trying to be positive, but yeah, as you said, in Dubai. And
um,
that's the worst thing about the guy. He's going to pop out from Dubai and he's going to have a killer performance, and then he's again going to find a way to get injured. Every
yeah.
time he's on the field, he's just actually really
He's
remarkably
just
good.
yeah. um, Afghanistan just did not find any support for Ibrahim Zadran there at all. Um, you have Najibullah, Omar Zai, both got first ball ducks, I think, or Omar Zai got like two or something. Uh, Nabi didn't contribute. Uh, Rashid Khan's not there, so Case Ahmed run machine is playing. Uh, I guess my question is more so if Ibrahim Zadran could have approached those last two overs better. Do you think there
Particularly
was a
that last over. It was
yeah,
a very brave call from Hasaranga to go for Binura. I think Binura
yeah,
went for 38 in his first 3 overs or something. He was very expensive. I was actually expecting Shanaka for the
yeah,
last over, but no,
yeah,
he went to Binura, and that was actually a really smart move. It worked
yeah,
out as it turns out. All of a sudden, Ibrahim had no answer to a left-arm seamer at the death. I get that Ibrahim doesn't come with a lot of death overs experience. He is an exclusively top three batter who
yeah,
almost entirely opens all the time. I say top three, but he almost always
yeah,
opens.
yeah,
He doesn't have a lot of experience down the order. I get that, but when you're that well set, you have to do better. You absolutely
yeah.
have to do better. 12 of the last over is not a difficult challenge. And the problem
Nothing.
is, it's not the one game. We're seeing Afghanistan get close on a lot of occasions in T20Is against these good opponents, and then they don't get over the line. And that is a problem. That has haunted them in T20 World Cups as well. And they
Yeah,
will have to try and get rid of this problem before June,
June. Yeah,
not during,
yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah. No, that's the thing I was gonna ask is, they've run teams close, right? And I mean, I think the third T20I is still left in the series, but one game you're losing by 4 runs, the next game you're getting beat by 72 runs. There's a lot of guys coming back like Hazratullah Zazai and stuff, but Matthews gets a big knock. How do Afghanistan find, I guess, that kind of middle ground where they can be consistent with their performance and not have to massively depend on a Rashid Khan to be that savior, to be that guy who instills all the energy and everything in this team? Like, imagine if Rashid Khan's not available for the World Cup. How do they still have a positive World Cup?
That's a very good question. I think the best preparation they could possibly get is the one that they've been getting for the last couple of months. The one in
Yeah,
India and the one here. Even though they are losing, in India they gave a really, really good fight in that
really good.
30-20. And
Yeah,
over here, even though they're losing, they're at least getting used to life without Rashid Khan. They're
yeah,
getting used to the fact that Rashid Khan isn't always going to be there. Mujib isn't there currently. So they're
yeah,
getting used to not having two of their best spinners
yeah,
and what it possibly means. And they
yeah,
realize that, okay, if it's either that Kais Ahmed is just not good enough to be playing for them at this level, or we have to keep improving Kais Ahmed and make sure that he's good enough to be playing at this level.
and
Because at
it
least he
affects
has that
Noor too
experience.
because he's just
No, with
leaks
Noor,
runs
they
on.
have to develop him. With
Yeah,
Noor, they cannot give up on him
no,
now.
no, no.
They
And
have to
I feel
develop him.
like because Case goes for so many runs on the other end, it kind of hurts Noor because people are just getting set, just smacking him around, right? Like,
And Noor has become so used to bowling in tandem first in his under 19 days with a very good under 19 bowling lot, and then
yeah,
with Rashid Khan, both at the IPL and at the national level, and
yeah,
with Mujib from time to time. That,
yeah.
it's not easy to adjust from those guys to all of a
To
sudden be bowling with a completely out of form Kais.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just not easy.
And I mean, KS Ahmed's got credit in the bank. We've been talking about people getting selected on credit in the bank, and KS Ahmed's getting essentially on reputation because he's played everywhere around the world, right? And they're
Was
thinking, oh, he might
very good in the first LPL, and
LPL.
now he's expected to perform in Sri Lanka based on that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's not turning out the way. Pretty much similar to what Zahir Khan went through. You would say, in test matches, he's
His
kind
case
of
was
like,
more disappointing, if I'm being
yeah,
honest.
yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah, 100% agreed with that. I guess, yeah. I mean, 30-20 still left. The only thing, Angela Matthews, this second coming just keeps getting interesting and interesting. And I
Do you feel like
guess,
the
do you
timeout
see him?
saga gave him that last bit of incentive?
Yeah, it just fueled him. I just feel like it just fueled him inside a little more. He's just like a bit more, I don't know, intense in the field, just wants to be a part of it, wants to be a part of the challenge. He's celebrating, he's giving guys send offs. There's a few things happening. Yeah. You see him playing at the World Cup?
I 120% do. I mean, if
Yeah,
he's playing now, if he's performing now the way he is definitely going to make the World Cups.
yeah.
No doubt about that. He has that experience. He is performing. He fits
2009 to
into this team very
2024,
well.
right? Yeah,
No,
yeah,
like I remember last couple of years there were instances where they would randomly bring him into different squads across formats, and
yeah,
even in tests from time to time, he just didn't feel like he would fit in regardless of how he was performing. Right now he's gelling really well with these young guys.
yeah,
He's made himself comfortable with them, and I think
yeah.
that was really important. Now that
Yeah.
he's done that, we can sort of have high expectations from him.
Another guy whose career has been fueled by Shakib Al Hasan.
Another 2006 under
Six
19 World Cup team member that Shakib seems to have a conflict with.
conflict
Are
with.
you next, Rohit Sharma?
Please report to duty now.
Hopefully not Moin Ali. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Rohit is also nice. So I'm just
Through
saying.
the BPL, Moin V Shakib. Just ignite that out of nowhere.
Piyush Chawla out of nowhere.
Oh my god, please. Sometimes I forget that Piyush Chawla is the same age as Virat Kohli because of how quickly Piyush Chawla has aged. Um,
And on paper, he's younger.
and on paper, yeah, valid, valid, valid.
Did you
Um,
hear the story of why Piyush Chawla came back to play in the IPL? It's actually a
no,
very emotionally
no.
touching story. Now that
Tell
it's
us
come up,
about
I
this.
want to address it
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
like
Tell
you,
us.
some fans might have missed it. It's actually a very emotional story. So when he was commentating in the 2022 IPL,
Yeah,
his son ended up asking. He was mostly in the Hindi commentary, but he was also in the English setup for Star
yeah,
Sports, like post match shows sometimes.
yeah,
His son ended up asking him. His son was like 3 or 4 years old at the time,
yeah,
and his son playfully ended up asking him that, did you ever play the IPL as well? And that got him a little emotional. Like, he's not just played; he's
uh,
won the
won the
IPL. He's
IPL.
literally
Yeah,
won it for Kolkata, hit the winning runs.
yeah,
And now his son is asking him if he's played with these guys, some of these guys that he's defeated and won the
and
IPL, by the way,
yeah,
and guys he's rubbed shoulders with and everything like that. So he decided, no, my son needs to watch me play. And he put his name back in the auction. Mumbai Indians roped him in. He ended up having a remarkable 2023 season for them.
That's a feel good story. What a feel good story. I mean, yeah,
Exaggerated Bollywood movie coming out. There
I
is
mean,
actually a very exaggerated Bollywood film on that topic, by the way. Just saying.
uh,
You're
now,
welcome,
now,
Shahid
now,
Kapoor. Free
now,
marketing.
now, there's gonna be a movie on the life of Piyush Chawla. Yeah, I guess last bit that I wanted to address, Netherlands, Nepal, and Namibia are playing a tri-series now out in Nepal. The ICC League 2 is ongoing. That's the ODI cycle for those teams. Netherlands actually beat Namibia by 7 wickets. Um, Namibia won the first game where they beat Nepal. The Netherlands lost to Nepal. Netherlands, actually, I was gonna say is Netherlands is starting to kind of give um, these guys chances who don't live in Netherlands but qualify for Netherlands. Noah Kroos actually plays in Melbourne. He plays for Melbourne University Cricket Club in Premier Cricket in Melbourne. Very high level of cricket. Um, Obviously, you have to give him a chance over a lot of guys playing, domestic cricket in Netherlands, right? Daniel Doram, he's actually playing for Leeward Islands, but because Leeward Islands is
Colonialized,
administered
basically.
by Netherlands, colonized, exactly. Uh, he qualifies for Netherlands. That's why I wish Kesey Cardi actually played for Netherlands because he's also from Leeuwarden. He's from Saint Martin, which is essentially the one that's colonized by Netherlands. Um, Namibia's got this young kid called James Drishel or something. Under, under 19 World Cup, had a good World Cup debut here. Twofer in the first game, I think, got a twofer right now in the ongoing game. So associates are looking good leading up to the T20 World Cup.
I expected Netherlands to
Except
kind of
Canada and
dominate
USA
the
because they don't
entire
play
thing.
shit. Huh?
Then they're getting a free ride, sort of,
Yeah, yeah,
for
that is.
the World Cup in North America.
Yeah. No, yeah, what were you gonna say?
So the whole point was, well, with this being a 50 over tri series, basically, I thought the Netherlands were going to use their confidence from the World Cup and completely dominate the scene, but that wasn't the case.
No,
They
no.
actually ended up losing one of their games. I think it was the one against Nepal,
The Nepal, 9 wickets,
and
yeah.
then completely dominated Namibia, which is something we expect. But Namibia in turn defeated Nepal in the first game. It's a very
It's
interesting
a
affair
interesting,
going on over there.
yeah,
And no, it's always good to see. And as you said, I think one of the reasons why Netherlands absolutely have to have these other guys from the different colonies, for lack of a better word, ready,
yeah,
is because we saw what happened last year with the qualifiers
yeah.
and the county system. It will most likely happen again
Tim
this year
Pringle's
during the
not
T20 World
available for
Cup.
this series. Logan Van Beek's not available for this series. So
And these are big names.
these are big names, exactly. Yeah,
So if they become unavailable now, if they again become unavailable during the T20 World Cup, if they again become unavailable during the next, I don't know,
imagine a county team telling a player you can't go play the World Cup because you have
World
to
Cup.
play for my county.
And a contract is a contract. You can't really do anything about
I
it.
know
It
you
sounds
can.
silly,
Yeah,
but that
yeah,
is literally what it is, right?
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
You've been in that county setup. Like, you know that
Yeah,
some
it's
of these things are taken very seriously.
some things you just can't. Sometimes you're not even allowed to skip practice. That's what it is, right?
And
Like,
it makes sense because they're also paying you for it. It's
yeah,
it's not a
yeah,
matter of joke.
yeah,
You
exactly.
it's they're paying you for the entire season. They can't just
Yeah.
deduct according to how many practices you're missing.
Yes. Yeah. No, fair enough. But
Uh,
no,
so
I think it's looking good for associates,
the
especially.
Netherlands seem to have a plan at hand right now, which is why I'm actually pretty confident that they'll make the Super Eights
Mm,
in the
I
T20 World Cup.
so I made an interesting what's it called call that day, prediction. I said Namibia is gonna make it to the semifinals of the T20 World Cup. We'll see how that goes.
Semifinals is a big way away,
But
but yeah, crazier
but
things have happened.
yeah, exactly. And I just feel like these guys are playing a lot of cricket around the world now, especially Namibia, Nepal, Netherlands. These guys are getting chances to play T20 cricket around the world. I think Gerard Erasmus has like played T10, T20 everywhere now. JJ Smith, I think, has played some here and there. So um, I guess the last bit is that Shah topic that we were going to discuss. We'll touch upon it very quietly. Uh, Seemed like it came on the back of, so India has Ranji Trophy that's currently going on, and any centrally contracted players were basically notified that they have to play the Ranji Trophy if they're centrally contracted. Like you said, contracts are contract. You just gotta do what you gotta do, or else what happened to Haris Ruff? You lose your contract. Simple, man. It's not rocket science, right? Hardik Pandya and Ishan Kishan are in Dubai preparing for the IPL, and Hardik Pandya actually exposed himself by taking pictures with kids who were netballing in Dubai. One of them happens to be someone who plays club cricket here in Canada, and his dad's connected in the ICC Academy, whatever, right? So he's training out there. I just randomly scrolling through Instagram. I was like, what? Okay. Anyways, so social media is powerful these days. These pictures make the rounds very quickly. So obviously landed on Jay Shah's lap, and he's basically told these guys, if you don't play Ranji Trophy, if you're prioritizing IPL over domestic cricket still our pinnacle for India selection, then you can forget about your central contract, essentially. Ishan Kishan could come and say, well, you picked Surya Kumar Yadav on the back of IPL performances for Test cricket. Why can't the same apply to me? Could he not? Or how does this translate that India's making a statement saying you guys need to prioritize domestic cricket? Is there a shift in India where players have started to deprioritize domestic cricket now?
Absolutely. This looks like something very interesting. I am sure that everyone, including Jay Shah, who's involved, is gonna tone this down before it goes out of hand. But
Yeah,
this could easily turn into a in very internal BCCI versus IPL franchise conflict,
yeah,
where where the franchises are suddenly forced into making changes in the budget and then lowering the players' costs and everything,
yeah,
and then the players are going to refute that. Players are not going to like that. This could lead to something like this because this is big. It's two cricketers right now, but two superstar cricketers. And if India
yeah,
can't control them all of a sudden, it starts to question that how many of the next generation cricketers can they control? Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli are both very disciplined, and I applaud them for that, but they don't have a lot of cricket left in them.
no, yeah,
What happens once they're gone? How
yeah,
do they handle this next generation? Ishan Kishan was touted as one of the future leaders, of course.
yeah.
Look what transpired with him. You now know you cannot trust him for captaincy in any format. You
Imagine
absolutely
this
cannot
happened
trust
in England or Australia, it would be like 10x by now, right? Um, I think the other thing is, if I would be able to say, is this precedent that's been set by having IPL franchises buy franchises around the world is if someone says, "Oh, I'm injured," this that, suddenly they can say, "Oh, you can come, and our team will look after you. We have a camp going on in South Africa. We have a camp going on in Dubai. We can come." That's what I mean. He was in Dubai because IL T20 was going on and MI Emirates were playing. It's not rocket science for us to understand, right? Like that's why they're in UAE. So how difficult is it going to get for India to really manage these IPL franchises expanding the way they are? Because sooner or later, someone's gonna be like, screw Vijay Hazare Trophy. I'm gonna go play some games with MI Emirates as practice game. I'm not gonna be able to play in the squad, but I might as well play some practice games here and there.
Jared Kimber mentioned it in a recent podcast as well. He's like, forget practice. Like we're talking about practice here, and he's like, these players, a lot of domestic players in India, a lot of successful players from the IPL who don't regularly feature in the national side, they're going to make a case from themselves and say, why cannot I play for Mumbai Indians, New York? It is still Mumbai Indians.
Yeah,
And the Ambanis have a contract with me, or the Royals have a contract with me. So why cannot I play for Pearl
Pearl
Royals?
Royals. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
It's going to happen eventually, and they deserve, like, look, they deserve a proper answer. It's not just anymore that the IPL is going to lose its value. They're going to be like, the IPL is losing its value anyway if you're going to
Yeah,
throw franchises around.
Yeah.
Like these franchises now carry the value of IPL teams, so you might as
Yeah.
well make them more valuable by allowing us to play for Abu Dhabi Knight Riders, for that
Yeah.
matter, or
Yeah.
Mumbai Indians, Emirates. I think that's the name.
Yeah. Am I
It's
right?
Dubai Capitals. I'll lose track. Dubai is not even a capital, man. What is
Yeah. I know.
tourism capital?
Delhi Capitals, Dubai
Eh,
Capitals.
Anyways, all those things aside, it's like the players can make a solid case for themselves at one point, and then what
Yeah.
is BCCI going to do? They
Yeah.
can't just scrap all the players. They can't drop everyone. Just like they can't drop or they can't do anything about Hardik Pandya and Ishan Kishan just because they've become superstars, particularly Hardik Pandya. Can you imagine? Hardik Pandya was all set to be India's T20I captain.
Yeah.
And some of
Yeah.
us were
Not
probably in favor of
in
that,
favor
actually.
of it. Exactly. No,
He was
100%.
doing well.
Yeah. It's
And now look
just
how things are. You know that he's probably never going to captain India ever again.
imagine this happened in Bangladesh.
In Bangladesh, you would need players to have that sort of a demand. The only player
Demand.
who does
Yeah.
is Shakib Al Hasan,
Shakib.
and with Shakib Al Hasan, you can't really drop him or anything. We've seen that before. Shakib
Yeah.
Al Hasan is not,
Yeah.
what's the word for it? Expendable, I think. What's the
Yeah.
word for it?
Dispensable.
Dispensable. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's really
Yeah.
not dispensable by any
Yeah.
means. It's just you can't do that with
You need
Shakib,
like three
and
guys
India
to
can
replace him.
barely do that with Hardik for
Yeah.
now. They all they can do is just keep him sidelined from captaincy. Even
Yeah.
then, if he has a fantastic season with MI as captain, I
Yeah.
won't be surprised if after the T20 World Cup he's immediately considered for captaincy
Constant
again.
captaincy. Yeah. No, 100%
So,
straight up.
so I actually had a question for you. Now,
Yeah.
are you done with the
Yeah. Yeah.
PCI
Yeah.
topic? Because
Yeah.
then I'm going to bring this question up. So recently, of course, again to our viewers, tune in to our Facebook page for our next BPL live, which is coming after the group stage. So during the last BPL game, the one where Tanzit Tamim got the century, the second last game,
Hmm.
Ramiz Raja was mentioning something very interesting, and I rarely ever agree with Ramiz Raja, but here I do. With he was having this conversation with Sir Curtly Ambrose, and the conversation went along these lines: that look, first of all, cricket has a lot of rules. He was talking about just explaining cricket to a non-cricket fan in America, and he had to explain a lot of rules because see, football has a lot of rules, baseball has a lot of rules, hockey has a lot of rules. All these games have a lot of rules, but we're talking about fundamental rules required to understand the
Then.
game. When it
Yeah.
comes to that, cricket has a lot of rules, a long
Yeah.
set of rules. We've
Yeah.
had to study some of those rules, so we know
Yeah.
that there's
Yeah.
actually a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on top of that, the MCC keeps making changes almost every year now. And these changes, they're not even all that small. And even if they were small, we're talking about these changes culminating every year and making a huge change in the game.
And it's
You
a
look
it's
at
a
when you
jerk
spoke
reaction to something that happens.
something that happens, something that
Yeah.
was said here or there, and then the MCC is changing. Who is making these decisions? I don't really know at this point.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
whole question then becomes their idea was that cricket is losing its amateurish fun, at least at the franchise league level. Like we talk about how BPL 2012, 2013 was really good.
Yeah.
And it's not anymore. We speak along the exact same lines about
Yeah.
the IPL and how
Yeah.
much everyone enjoyed IPL during that mid, I want to say 2012 to
12 to
2016 phase.
2017, 2016.
2017,
Yeah.
everyone loved
Yeah.
it, loved it. Even
Yeah.
up until we can push it up until the beginning of the pandemic or something,
Yeah.
people loved the IPL because it still had that fun thing going
Yeah.
on with him and with it. And then people started taking it way too seriously. It's just not fun.
Yeah.
Some things are meant to be taken lightly, but with cricket and the way we're shaping things up, it's getting harder and harder to take it lightly and take it as a sport rather than
Yeah.
take it. We just have to take it seriously. So,
Yeah.
is that a valid point, or is that how cricket is always going to be, and we as fans have to adjust around that?
No, I think that's a very valid point because you think about other sports and a lot of people play for passion. You look at Nepal, they're getting 20,000 people out at the ground for passion, straight passion, raw passion. None of a lot of these guys were not born as a cricketer in a cricket nation, did not have all the facilities, right? That you're blessed with in India, Bangladesh, whatever. So I think because of the way we have made this into a market, we have created this beast called the IPL, where they now want to have 3 months of the IPL in a calendar year, where you only have a set amount of 365 days. and guys are being asked to do crazy amount of hours on the field every year. Um, if I have a franchise contract, you are coming for my position. There is probably 50 other guys around the world coming for my position. I am thinking about, I gotta keep my place. This is what's feeding my family. I got stressed. I'm not really enjoying the sport at a point. I'm just stressed about keeping my spot because there's so much competition from my spot from 15 other countries. Before, you only worry about 15 plus another 15, 18 players that you're probably competing for your spot, and each spot probably has one or two replacement players. Now, guys have big, like you said, 14 crore, 2 seasons in a row might change you as a person, might change you as a player or how you think. But with that 14 crore also comes, I gotta retain this 14 crore because now I have a lifestyle that I gotta keep up. So I think it's become too big of a business where now it's just asking too much of the players. Now we're just, there's too much negative competition in cricket now where if you go into a park, say here in Canada, I'm gonna give you the barest example. You go into a park in Canada here at the highest level of our domestic cricket, which is the S9. The talk is not about the cricket. The talk is about who is playing, who is not playing, why the pitches are shit, and why the umpires are shit. But there is no discussion about are these guys enjoying what they're playing? Is any one of the 22 guys or 22 times 5, because there are 5 grounds at King City, any of them enjoying the game? Or is everyone worried about if I do well for Canada, S9, I will get picked for Canada, but then comes politics, this, that bullshit, and guys that were deserving don't get picked, etc., etc. We see this in every country. But if players at grassroots level are not enjoying, if players come to a ground and don't feel like they can enjoy being there today, we're going to lose the sport as we know it. And a lot of people have said it that before, how did they keep associate countries engaged? You know, when we were growing up, there was like Intercontinental Cup. Afghanistan was playing 2 days matches. Afghanistan was playing 3 day matches. This, that, you know, it kept people engaged. What keeps people engaged now? BPL starts today, PSL starts tomorrow, ILT ended yesterday, IPL starts tomorrow. What the hell?
Everyone's literally exhausted.
Yeah. You
Not
can't,
engaged.
can you watch 6 games in a day? Is it possible? Is it realistically possible to watch 6 games in a day? Like
This was the worst part. Like there were games when, the BPL game was just ending and an
oh,
SAT20
PSL.
match was starting,
Yeah, yeah,
and somewhere along those lines, an ILT20 game was also taking place.
yeah,
I knew that I had the time to watch all three, maybe,
yeah.
but I didn't want to. I
Want
was
to? No.
exhausted, literally.
Yeah. Like today, I watched the BPL game in the morning. I turned on the PSL game, and I just got bored. This is me. I play cricket regularly, and I'm just bored of watching this same shit every day. It's just glamour. It's just extravagance. It's just you don't want to watch it every day. It's like whereas if you were watching international cricket, you know you're gonna watch it for 10 days. You're gonna enjoy those 10 days. That's the difference now. And I mean, what the hell is 96 games in the IPL in 2027 or something? You're gonna keep like 4 countries tied up in that, and your other countries can't play because of logistical issues at that time. DRS is not available because 96 IPL games are going on. Fucking bullshit, man. Give me a break.
absolutely ridiculous. They're really trying hard to get that whole Premier League thing started, but that is how the Premier League was for over a century.
Yeah,
That is an established system which worked for football. It worked for the NFL. It worked for the NBA. Those
yeah,
things work that way. The NBA has nothing to do with international basketball.
nothing.
Just
Yeah,
like the NFL doesn't even exist outside of the US.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Bit of it in Canada, but whatever, we don't really count
yeah.
that.
I mean, it's not massive, right? You have the CFL, yeah, but does anyone talk about it? No. Like, whereas now everyone needs to talk about SAT20, ILT20 because IPL team owners are owning these teams. Come on, man. Anyways, a lot of rants, a lot of topics discussed. Rakimo, thank you as always. Good chats today. Obviously, late night, still in Toronto. But yeah, thank you guys for staying up to date with our weekly episodes. Really appreciate it. And please keep supporting Bagrata. And obviously, as we mentioned before, on Saturday, probably we're going to do our live for the post BPL group stage. So stay tuned for that on Facebook. Uh, thank you.